In today's video, you are gonna rank every single Star Wars series from worst to best. What's up everybody, your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and you heard me right. This is not gonna be another one of those ranking videos where I just share with you my personal thoughts on Star Wars, although I will add in my thoughts. Instead, I went and found thousands and thousands of reviews from fans and critics the world over and have sorted every Star Wars series by average score. So, in a way, you could say this is the official ranking. If that kind of thing sounds cool to you, maybe drop a like on the video, and if you want to see more rankings just like this, be sure to subscribe. All right, without further ado, let's get started with number 8 on the list, and that is The Book of Boba Fett. The Book of Boba Fett picks up after Boba's appearance in The Mandalorian, and we follow Boba and his mercenary friend Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen, as they fight to take over Jabba the Hutt's old territory. So of course, this series is at the bottom of the list for a reason, or really a number of reasons, which is really unfortunate because I feel like Boba Fett is one of the most popular and beloved characters in all of Star Wars, and to get more about his backstory and about what he went through is something that a lot of the fans have wanted for years and years. And although I did enjoy parts of the show, specifically some of the action sequences and some of the nods that they did to old Japanese and Western cinema, the show was more or less a mess. There were flashbacks and whole story arcs that just didn't really matter, to me at least. And it really just felt like Boba didn't have a meaningful purpose, and in fact that he didn't even know what he was doing half the time. Some of the best parts in the entire show were episodes that Boba was barely even in. Towards the end of the season, there are a couple episodes that revolve primarily around what occurred in the Mandalorian series, and honestly, those are the best episodes, which is really a shame. It's almost as if maybe we didn't need to know all of this. Maybe what made Boba Fett so cool and so interesting was that he was shrouded in mystery. So when you start to unravel all of that and start to try to build story around this character, it kind of falls apart. I would like to believe that they could absolutely make a really good kick-ass show about Boba Fett, but unfortunately, this was not that show. Coming up next at number 7 on the list is an animated show mainly for kids, and that is Star Wars Resistance. In Star Wars Resistance, young New Republic pilot Kaz is recruited by Poe Dameron and tasked with a top-secret mission to investigate the First Order. Now, right off the rip, I'm gonna tell you this show is not really for adults, although you can get some enjoyment out of it if you want to watch it. But do not be mistaken, it is absolutely aimed exclusively almost at young kids. Throughout the series, there are some legitimately deep character arcs and developments that we explore, but they're not really dived into as much as you might see in a show that's more aimed at adults. We also get to see some of the perspective of the Resistance fighters that we don't get in the movies, so that's fun. I wouldn't really say anything that the show does is going to weigh heavily on the movies, but it's just cool to get a little bit of extra backstory. For what it's worth, Resistance is a fine show. It just doesn't have any of the highs that you get in even some of the other animated series, like the Clone Wars or Rebels. And ultimately, unfortunately, a lot of it is just forgettable. By no means do I think Resistance is a necessary show for you to watch, but if you have little ones, it might be a fun way to get them involved and invested in a lot of the lore and background to some of these Star Wars movies. Okay, coming up next at number 6 is a show that really cuts deep, but the numbers don't lie, and that is Obi-Wan Kenobi. In Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi Master has to save a young Princess Leia after she's kidnapped, all while being pursued by Imperial Inquisitors and his former Padawan, Darth Vader. Oh man, this show is probably the most hyped Star Wars series of all time. When I found out that this was coming out, I was blown away. I was so excited to see it, and after watching it, I do feel pretty let down. It honestly kind of reminded me of Boba Fett, in that it promised to tell us all these things that we didn't know about this beloved character, but in the end, the show just kind of crumbled under its own weight in a lot of ways. And it became this kind of weird episodic show where the character that we love is going on these missions that we're just not that invested in. Now, one thing that Obi-Wan has that Boba Fett did not have is Ewan McGregor. And he is the shining light in this entire series. You also have Hayden Christensen revising his role as Anakin/Darth Vader, which is so great to see after all these years. And there are a number of parts of the show that are super memorable and were so awesome to see. But an entire series cannot rely on just a few moments. I think honestly the thing that really breaks my heart the most is that for this story, we have been waiting for years. And now that we've got it, it's what it is. This story, for all of its good points and all of its bad points, is the official canon. And I'm left with the same question. Like Boba Fett, is it better to just not know certain things about characters you love? All right, with that said, coming in at number 5 is a show that is not really about any of the main characters that we've come to love, because it is an anthology series called Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Visions summoned the powers of 7 Japanese animation studios to bring their own unique perspectives to the Star Wars universe through a series of short films. So right off the rip, Star Wars Visions, being a Japanese animated anthology film, reminded me so much of something called The Animatrix, which I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a similar type of thing that came out for The Matrix back in the day. And much like The Animatrix, there are parts of this anthology that are incredible, and then there are others that are maybe not so hot. That said, my opinion is that most of the parts of the anthology were very good, and that there were very few that really held it down. But, of course, that may just be my weebiness poking through. Either way, Star Wars Visions is really more of what I would consider an art piece. It's an opportunity for a number of creators to kind of have an outlet to express their own views of Star Wars and of what it involves, and to kind of give you a whole new outlook on it. I don't think it's really intended to kind of build out or expand the universe in any real significant way, but it's just something there for you to enjoy on its own in little pieces. That said, I don't think this series is going to appeal to everyone. Absolutely not. But on the Venn diagram of Star Wars nerds and anime nerds, if you're in the center of that, then this is a dream come true. All right, next up on the list, coming in at number 4, is an animated series based on part of an animated series that is based on a movie. And that is Star Wars: The Bad Batch. In The Bad Batch, a team of elite and experimental clones make their way through an ever-changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars and Order 66. So first off, I'm gonna be super clear. I absolutely love the Bad Batch characters, going all the way back to the Clone Wars. I always felt that they were just fun and interesting and unique characters. So you can imagine my excitement when I found out that they were coming out with their own series to explore what happened with them after Order 66. And although I really love the show, I can totally understand why not everyone would. I mean, it does require that you already have quite a bit of knowledge about not only the Bad Batch characters, but everything that went on with the clone troops in the Clone Wars. That being said, if you do have that foundation of knowledge, this show rocks. There are awesome action sequences, a ton of really cool character development, and it really just opens up the world and explains a lot about what was going on in a period of time that had previously been kind of shrouded. There were a couple of bits and a couple of characters that I didn't really love per se, but overall, it is a wonderful show with a lot of great lore and a really solid follow-up to the Clone Wars. Before we get into the top 3, I should go ahead and let you know, of course, all of these series are available for you to stream on Disney+, but if you are a physical media fan like myself, I'm going to go ahead and try to find all of the collections on Blu-ray, and I will link each and every one of them in the description below. And of course, if you use those links, it really helps out the channel. So if you're looking for a super simple way to help me out, definitely check those links out. All right, we are getting down to business. Coming in at number 3 is another animated series, Star Wars Rebels. In Star Wars Rebels, a ragtag starship crew stand up against the evil Empire as it tightens its grip on the galaxy and hunts down the last of the Jedi Knights. Okay, now, I have to say, I love Star Wars Rebels. Between this and Clone Wars, for me, honestly, you could flip a coin. Although, I don't know, that last season of Clone Wars was insane. That being said, I cannot wait to see what they do with the remains of Rebels in upcoming series and movies, specifically with whatever happened to Ezra at the end of the show. Now, although I absolutely love Rebels and have watched it over and over again, I know and I totally understand that there are some negatives to the show. For one, it starts off kind of slow and uncertain, especially in the first season and really kind of the first 2 seasons. The show took a while to get going. There was a lot of filler, and I feel like they didn't really know where they wanted to go with it. But hot damn, when it gets into those deeper episodes, when it really starts to dive into the light and the dark and the Sith and the Jedi and what's going on with the rebellion, like, it is wild. And if I'm being honest, there were some scenes in this show where I straight up cried. Yeah, I said it. I'm a grown man. I know it's a cartoon, but there are moments in this series where if you are a Star Wars fan, a diehard Star Wars fan, you just can't help it. It's so powerful and meaningful and beautiful in a lot of ways. So, although it does take some time to get up and running and to really find its footing, Star Wars Rebels is a fantastic show that I absolutely love and highly, highly recommend. And I can't wait to see what else we get from it. Okay, we are almost done, and then there were 2. Coming in at number 2 is the last of the animated series, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. In the Clone Wars, Jedi Knights lead the Grand Army of the Republic against the Droid Army of the Separatists. All right, so I'm gonna let you know right off the jump, the Clone Wars started out rough. Before the animated series, there was a movie that was honestly no bueno. Really kind of hot trash. And kind of like Rebels, with the first season of the Clone Wars, I feel like they just didn't really know what they were trying to accomplish with the show. I remember watching the first season, maybe season and a half, and then just dropping off, and then not picking it up again until much, much later when I heard that the show had gotten so much better. But this was really the first big animated series that Star Wars had dipped their toes into trying. And so, of course, as you might expect, there were going to be some growing pains. But then this is a perfect example of giving something time to breathe and to grow and to develop into something much, much more. And it did. The Clone Wars became one of the greatest Star Wars anythings to exist. It's so funny because I remember I was there in the dark days when we were introduced to Ahsoka Tano in the first season of the Clone Wars. Or I think originally in the movie. And either way, I remember how much everyone hated her character. And now, all these years later, after we get to see her fully develop throughout the series, how stoked are we all to see this Ahsoka series come out? And it wouldn't have happened without the Clone Wars. So, the Clone Wars, the very best Star Wars animated series of all time, and number 2 on our list of the greatest Star Wars series, period. All right, before I reveal number 1, if you are enjoying this video, do me a solid and drop a like on the video. And if you want to see more rankings just like this, make sure you subscribe. Okay, coming in at number 1 is a show that I feel like is probably a surprise to no one, and that is The Mandalorian. In The Mandalorian, we follow the travels of a lone bounty hunter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. So I feel like The Mandalorian is a lesson in you don't always want what you think you want. Think about it. Kind of like I said earlier, we all wanted an Obi-Wan show, and then we get it, and some of us maybe would have rather not gotten it. And we all wanted a Boba Fett show. We got it, and I feel like a lot of us would have rather not gotten that. But Star Wars announces a random show about an unnamed character going on missions that we know nothing about, and it turns out to be the best Star Wars series of all time. I mean, truly, The Mandalorian is almost perfect. The action sequence, the character development, the story arcs, little baby Grogu. I mean, come on. Then, of course, as we get deeper into the show and it starts to make connections to the greater universe and introduce and reintroduce characters that we've known and love, fantastic. That is how you do fan service. Now, of course, especially in season 1, there were a couple of episodes that were kinda nothing burgers, or at least so they seemed. I specifically remember a couple episodes that felt like didn't really matter, and then it wasn't until season 2 where it's kind of revealed what that was all building up to, and it totally pays off. One of the things that I hear a lot of people complain about when it comes to Star Wars is that so much of the movies and the shows and the lore revolves around such a small group of people, a very specific family. And although there are parts of The Mandalorian that do loop in those characters, the show itself is about someone that we don't really know, and that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the universe, of the galaxy in Star Wars. But because the characters are written so well, because they're acted so well, and because the stories are so compelling, we're drawn into them. We want to believe the best of our character, and we want to follow him on his journey. And that is what makes for great storytelling and fantastic Star Wars content. Well, that's it, my dude. I hope you found some cool new series to check out. Definitely let me know what your personal ranking is in the comments below. And if you have any recommendations for other ranking videos you'd like me to do, absolutely let me know. I also have an entire playlist right over here of all my other ranking videos if you want to jump in and check those out now. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Be good.